Fans and folks, welcome back to the podcast today. I'm your host, Joe Chill and Love. Today it's a little different on the podcast. So, instead of sports, instead of reviewing AEW or a wrestling show, we're going to be reviewing a wrestling movie in the sense of The Iron Claw. The Iron Claw, the heavy movie, you should say, about the Von Erich family from the mid to late 90s era of professional wrestling, which had a huge deal of tragedy surrounded by them, a great amount of promise, a great dynasty in the making that unfortunately ended too soon, which we will go over, as I did watch the film earlier with the folks. Great film, first of all, great film, but we are here to do a recap and a review best we can. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this movie justice, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride to talk about it. But before we get into it, thank you all for joining me. Of course, anyone new on the podcast, etc. and stuff, can find the subscription there in the corner, like button on this side of the field. So, before, I think many can agree, before watching this film or hearing about this film, because I knew as soon as it came out, I had to find one way or another to watch it, and luckily I did earlier. Before anyone saw the film or heard about it, odds are, as a wrestling fan, you heard something about the Von Erich family of the mid-90s. So, my affiliation, or I should say my knowledge of Von Erich family was, big family mainly in WCCW or NWA, and the one I knew about mostly was Kerry, simply because Kerry was in WWE for a couple of years. He is a former Intercontinental Champion of WWF at the time. Kevin Von Erich, thankfully is still alive with us today. He, has represented the family well and helping keep the legacy alive now with his sons in AEW or Ring of Honor, Kerry's daughters, which I did see. So Lacey Von Erich, I did see in TNA for a brief minute, basically, and I'm not sure if she still wrestles, but that was my kind of affiliation of seeing the Von Erich family at first, and then seeing Kevin, at Slammiversary, I believe 2014, deliver an Iron Claw during a match. So there's there. So I did have some knowledge going into this film, but I tried to be as blind to it as I could. But the problem is when you're a wrestling fan, you're like, yeah. But But coming to this film, you had some expectations and you had some knowingness of how good this film would be. And I'm here to tell you, it was a journey and it was a fun film. You know, whether you're a fan of professional wrestling, whether you're a fan of tragedy, drama, whichever, this story is something that when you hear about it, it's too good to be true, but it is. So we won't go down scene for scene, but give my thoughts and portion throughout this video, give my thoughts on the film. So, how it started. So, first of all, it wasn't 100% accurate. Now, we know, Chris wasn't in it for reasons, obviously enough tragedy in the film and, etc. So, if you're a wrestling fan, historian, I understand it. It wasn't the most accurate. It wasn't 100% accurate, but it was fair on the margin. Talking about the story. So, at the main core is Fritz and Kevin. This was the film, kind of how it was about. And of course, the brothers, for a large part. So, by the way, spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the film and you want to, and you don't want to see any spoilers, I recommend don't watching the rest of this. So, the movie, how it started off. So first we saw Fritz, as Fritz was a wrestler in the mid-90s. And he was, I did not really research Fritz that much, but, he was promoter, he lived through his sons, through his wrestler. They used the Iron Claw, which was family move. So, first we cut to Fritz. He was in a wrestling match, and he won it with the Iron Claw. I like the black and white because of that time period. It was definitely different. Cutting to a ring, and that was kind of cool. Excuse me. So, then we get to cutting to the back, and we see Fritz, aka Holt McCallany, played a great role as Fritz. He played them up to the marker. Great job. Great job by Holt McCallany in this role. Good job. So, after match, we see Fritz greeted by Kevin and I believe David, his sons, greeting him, giving him the Iron Claw, and then his wife, Dottie. So they were out there, they were leaving a wrestling match, and then notably, you see a cat. So there's a Cadillac, and she's not too pleased because of apparently their makings and you know they get in the Cadillac. Obviously, the kids are happy. Fritz then was trying to explain to her, I'm trying to be the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and this will be much better. So you can see her praying. This was a very center part of Dottie. You can see in the film her pretty much dedication to her religion or her just faith. It was the biggest part, I would say, out of Dottie in this film. Her remorse, her her belief in her faith. It was the biggest part for her in this film, I feel. So then we see get to the family, years later. So, they're in their family home, they're in their family kitchen, like a family ranch. And so we see David wake up, we see Kevin sing with Mike, Fritz, and Dottie, and they're having real breakfast. And, Holt is kind of, or I should say Fritz, is kind of giving the testament, I would say, the ultimatum, like, not really an ultimatum, but telling them it's like, hey, it's time to think about what you're going to be doing for your future. Because Kevin's wrestling, or actually before. Can't tell. I think it was after. So we see Kevin Von Erich, played by Zac Efron, and he's wrestling Chavo Guerrero, who plays the Sheik. Good job. They had a little match beforehand. But yeah, so we cut to the family, and they're at the table, they're sitting down, they're eating. Fritz is he tells Mike, it's like, hey, currently you're my least favorite. And, it's like, hey, the rankings, change, but you need to bulk up. You need to do something. So that cuts there. So they all go to church, and then, the basis of Dottie's character throughout this film was her faith. So, they go to church. And then, so, we see that. So, this part I missed. It was Kevin meeting Pam outside of a wrestling match. So that was the part I missed, but it came back anyway. So Lily James did a good job as Pam. Just her energy and her vibe to the character, that certainly worked. So they're on a date, and then this is when we really got the tune of the curse. So Kevin's on a date with Pam, Lily James' character, and then he talks about, well, you know, his dad Fritz changed his last name, and you know how, you know, when they were younger, that, you know, when things happen, when his older brother, the oldest, Jack Jr., the first child, when he drowned in a freak accident, it's like, hey, may align with the curse. And as they were talking about, you know, Kevin's brothers, about his desire to be world champion, what they want in life, it was unique. And then Pam gets sad hearing about the curse, and then hearing about Jack Jr. So she goes to console him, and, you know, they kiss, and then that was that scene. Then the bass picked up again when Fritz sits down with Kevin, and Fritz talks about a match with Harley Race in WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. They did a good job with the feel, I would say the graphics of the whole World Class Championship Wrestling for that time. Thought it went well. The guy who was the announcer, so excuse me. So first, before the Harley Race match, so David made his debut. You know, as Kevin David versus Gino Hernandez, aka Ryan Nemeth, and Bruiser Brody, who I want to check to see who's the cast again, because I want to get this correct. So Kazi Lewis Sergino, I believe that's his name. Sorry if I butcher it, but yeah, that was good start. And then, so you see Kevin versus Harley Race, and that felt stellar to a T. So Kevin gets thrown over the top rope, basically, and then gets hit with a suplex on the outside, and then he struggles. Then they cut to the ring. The guy who plays Harley, I believe it was Kevin Anton, did a fair job in looking like Harley Race. He got disqualified and then beat down after the match. And then David, played by Dave Harris Dickinson, saves him. Basically cuts a promo, and then they cut to back, where basically Kevin is disappointed in how David talked for him, and Fritz was kind of explaining the motions of the match, and that maybe not. Kevin Von Erich did enough to get a world title shot. I mean, also in the sit down, we saw, Fritz explain, how important the NWA World Heavyweight Championship would be to the family, saying that Kevin, could be the guy to bring it. So, then we started to see so we saw about Kevin, we saw about David to start, and then we pivoted a bit to Mike. So there was like a sit down, almost like a picnic dinner outside the ranch, and it was them, all of them together. And this is when it kind of picked up, I would say, for Mike's character, aka Stanley Simmons. Did a solid job, I think, portraying Mike Von Erich. So, we know with Kevin, his passion was football per se. He did play football, and now he's on this trajectory of wrestling. David, just getting into wrestling. Mike seemed like his passion is music. So he talked about playing and this is kind of a not a low blow, but a shot to the gut when the mother talks about Fritz used to be playing clarinet or did a great job, and then he changed his path to wrestling or sports, and he said that I saw no future in music. So he's like, go with sports, and it was the right decision. So Mike, he talks about a gig for his band playing, saying that they have a gig tonight at a college campus. So, or a university. So they're like, oh, it's tonight. Oh, they get paid. And parents are like, no. So or actually, shoot. I fast forward. My bad. Kerry, he was first. He was before Mike. I apologize. I mean, it was so much to digest. I didn't want to take notes during the film. Yeah, it was. So before Mike, Kerry. So the introduction of Kerry, they showed them, doing the discus. For those who watched, seen clips of Kerry Von Erich wrestle, one of his famous moves is the discus punch or discus forearm, whichever you want to call. So he was getting ready for the Olympics, and you saw the rest of the family. They were sitting on the couch watching TV, and they note how or something says on TV where it's like U.S. will not be represented in the Olympics for, for certain reasons. And then, so you can see this disappointment on people's faces. So, and Kerry, as no doubt he has to come back home, not being able to go to the Olympics. So, yeah, this is something. So, they had a welcome home sign. Kerry was there, shook hands with Fritz, his dad, hugged his mother, and then embraced his brothers. So, I mean, definitely a different vibe already in that scene. So then, cut to where I was talking about, the picnic kind of dinner with Pam and everyone. So, Mike then, talking about the music, etc. Then, so they sneak out. So, Pam driving a truck with the brothers pushing it, and they sneak to this university, and while Eric plays with this band, I believe Stanley called the band the Lovers or something. Might have been the same band that he played prior, in a prior scene where, he was being picked up by David and Kevin, and then they had burgers on the way. That was a nice little moment. So, I would say this was one of the big climaxes of the good in the film. The heartfelt moments in the film. So, they're at the university, the party scene. So, Mike and his band, they're playing a song. And, vibing out, there's drinks, stuff. So, Carrie is doing, kicks and push-ups, etc. It was something. So then, Kevin is talking to Pam, and then they kind of make love in the truck, and that was kind of the end of that scene. So then they cut to another fun scene, which is, so the brothers are all doing woodwork on the outside. So Fritz comes to talk to Carrie, and basically telling Carrie, well, Olympics has been taken from him the way football taken from him. Don't want to wish wrestling, but at the same time, they want everyone to be in the same world together, being wrestling. So, asks Carrie to join his brothers in the ring, and then David's happy, Kevin's happy, but Mike feeling left out. So back to music. Mike plays, Tom Sawyer, which was very good. And then while Carrie's working out, gets the idea for their D music, and this really took a page, starting their feud with the Fabulous Freebirds. Did a decent job with see again, if you're a wrestling fan or a wrestling fan of the story, and you're gonna be moments where you're gonna be like, but did a fine job. And then they showed this package, of Kerry working out and then wrestling in the ring with the Freebirds, feuding, doing a bunch of battles, and then finally culminates with a match, big match for the trios titles or the 6-man tag team titles. Freebirds versus Von Erichs, and the Von Erichs win. And then this is when, again, kind of took a ruse for how things went, or started to trickle. That competition among the brothers, and Fritz having his favorites. So after the match, when they win the titles, Fritz gets on mic, cuts a heck of a promo, and says that, well, he'll make sure that David Von Erich, after he probably got the sense of Kevin, and Kevin's like, well, telling Pam his dream is to become World Heavyweight Champion. So he says that Kevin will be the next World Heavyweight Champion. Then says Kevin will have his turn, and then Kerry, and then Mike. And then you can see on their faces where it's like, and then David's like, I'm not sure if, I don't think he meant I'm first. And then Kevin's like, well, Pops doesn't make mistakes like that. And then Fritz like, is that a problem? And then Kevin's like, no, sir. But yeah, you can see on their faces like, So then you cut to the back, and then this is with his sons, says that David finally has, or they finally have a world title shot, and said it's going to David, saying that he'll feud for, or have a big feud with Ric Flair, and then he'll go to Tokyo, and then right then and there, for if you knew knowledge, you're like, oh no, this when it starts trickling. So then he said, then they'll get back to the States and he'll be world champion. So it's like then there. So then he tries to coach up, Kevin and Kerry, and Kerry's happy for him, but you can see Kevin's like conflicted because he like thought that was his crack, and then it's going to David, and again that friendly competition amongst the brothers. So next, cut to the wedding after party of Kevin and Pam. Stellar scene. You know, congrats, newlyweds. Show them all dancing, embracing. Bunch of stuff. So Kevin goes to the bathroom. And then he hears someone coughing up, throwing up. And then he notes that it's David. And then you see the toilet and it's kind of bloody. So he gets concerned, David talking about its bug, saying is saying it's sunburns, it's nothing, fun. And yeah, Kevin's like, you need to see doctors. And then, so they talk about, and then Dave's like, I'm fine, I'm just sick. So then Kevin talks about having a family and says that David's going to be an uncle. And he's like, and David's like, oh man, that makes me so happy. So then they start line dancing, and then cuts away, and then, yep, it starts. So Kevin's driving, and see concern as Fritz drives home, and Fritz is down, sitting at the coffee table, and Kevin's like, what's wrong, Pop? And then, what is it? And Fritz like, it's David. Died in Tokyo in his hotel room, ruptured intestine. So it's like right then and there, it starts, this cycle of things that happen. This curse. So, and then the thing is, notes. So Kevin's looking through things, and then he sees a note of David from Tokyo. And then it's just heart warming, and it pulls at your heartstrings, honestly. So then there. So we see Carrie and Mike. They're outside, in sunglasses, and Fritz like, hand over your sunglasses, no tears. Talks about what God wanted this. Yeah. So there for funeral. There's there. So then Fritz talks to Kevin and Carrie and Mike after, saying, it's how about we bounce back from this adversity. So next thing you know, they talk about, who's stepping in for this world title shot, and then back and forth. Kevin's like, I want it, I'll do it. Carrie's like, no, I deserve it, I'm ready. And then you can see Mike, again, kind of feels left out. So Fred says he'll flip a coin. Heads for Carrie, tails for Kevin. So it flips, and then it cuts to Carrie. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailer, and so at first I thought it was Kevin. But then you see it's Carrie with the Fort David jacket, and then he walks into the arena, and then wins the world title. So then, cut to the scene. So, Carrie's at home and he's like, I can't believe that this are in family. So he talks with Kevin, and then they talk, they have, back and forth, and then Carrie's like, I'm going to go for a ride. So he's like, okay. So then the motorcycle, I go, no. So then, see Carrie on a motorcycle by night, and then next thing you know, you cut to Carrie getting out of bed, crutches, without a foot. So it's like right then and there. It's like, yep. Now the story. So thing noted online was that first with David, he died in his hotel room due to a ruptured intestine, this or that. Carrie, the story with Carrie online was that he injured his foot in a motorcycle accident, and then he walked on it too prematurely and then was forced to lose it, or lose part of it, and he was on crutches there and there. Well, it's still wrestle with a prosthetic foot. So and then next thing you know, taking drugs, taking steroids. Well, that was during the Freebirds scenes, but yeah, crazy. So then we go to Mike. So it's like, okay, well, David's gone. Carrie's hurt, trying to heal up. And so we see Mike training. Finally getting trained. So, see him training. Things going good. And then he's in a match. And, looks like he's doing well. Attack match with Kevin. Throwing some drop kicks, feeling good. And then he lands on his shoulder and injures it badly. So then the match stops. And then next we cut to he has shoulder surgery and they're waiting. And the doctor says it's tricky. That, unfortunately, he went to shock syndrome and then he's in a coma. So all we can do now is wait. There again, another bad thing that happened to brothers. So it's like David's gone. Carrie only has one foot now. And Mike is hurt in a coma. So, you know, Kevin is talking on the phone with his mom. You know, it's like, he's like, it keeps happening. It keeps happening. I mean, you can feel for this guy and feel for his family. I mean, what it's happened. So, then you cut to Carrie, who's trying on some boots, trying to walk it off, trying to make it look. Because that was the thing. When he got into his accident, they interviewed him and trying to show everyone that he's okay, you know, this or that, he's fine. Reality, it wasn't. So, next thing you know, we see, you know, Carrie's not happy, so Kevin is not sure. He wrestled a tag match with Lance Von Erich, a cousin played by MJF, the now former AEW World Champion, who also was a executive producer. Didn't really know, but of the film. So that was a unique touch, but he did get a fair amount of time. It wasn't a full-on role, but he was there for the match. So, yeah. So, then we see Kevin, you know, going on about his family, about the industry. Yeah. And then we see drift off. We see Carrie go to WWF, who did at the time. And, you know, Mike. So he's out of the coma. And then, you know, one of the reporters like, when is your timetable for getting back in the ring? Son's like, damn. And then they're back, you know, at the table, and you can tell there's like the wind just out of their sails. I mean, just Carrie's hurt, Mike's hurt. Kevin is just enduring at this point. So, yeah. So, next up, so we see so we see now Mike talking with his mother over a sandwich, and he's like, he's scared because everyone wants him to be David, but he's not David. And then he's trying to play music, but he just can't. Same way. So he overdoses. And then we see Kevin and Carrie training in the ranch ring. And Carrie's like trying to tough out, trying to show he's fine, but you can tell not fine because he's still not healed. So Carrie needs help, and then you see in the back, you know, Mike, you know, just strolling out. Next thing you know, see a scene where going to the dock, the family river, and then you see Mike out the canoe as he overdosed. And yeah, there's number two. So then at the other funeral, the mother's distraught, Pam's trying to console her. See Pam is upset as well. And then you can see Pam's trying to tell Kevin to just come home. And Kevin's like scared. He's like scared because he doesn't want his kids to catch it. So he's like, I'm sorry, I can't. So drifts off away from Pam and his kids for a bit to focus on the ring and wrestling. So he finally gets his shot after a bit. His shot against Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship. And he just goes nuts at one point. You can tell the frustration, the anger, and the angst, the sadness of losing Mike and David. This one it kind of starts to boil over him as he hit the Iron Claw onto Rick. Now, I'll be honest, because I can tell with the reviews and such, the guy who played Ric Flair, was already at a disadvantage because Ric Flair is such a bold personality and, voice that he had to be really solid to nail Ric Flair. Now, for a bit, he looked apart, but I mean, just how he came off, it was funny and sad because, you just feel for that guy. Aaron Dean Eisenberg? So, Kevin uses the claw and gets disqualified. So, Carrie backstage is like, what the heck, man? So, Carrie's talking with, Kevin's talking with the guy who plays Rick. And then, after a while, Kevin chuckles. And then, see him knock on Pam's door. And then, he feels like he's ready to be a father again. So, see him taking after his kids, picking up from school, helping make food for Pam and them. So, there you go. So, there's that. And then Kevin has a conversation with Fritz about the NWA WCCW flag, about possibly buying it out or selling it. So Fritz is like kind of dismissive in a way with this. He's like, I didn't give it to you to sell it, and job is to wrestle you in the ring. I think they kind of cut that out. And he's like, I need to think my family, the house and all that. So then they're watching Kerry, who's in the WWF, and then Kerry wins the match, and then Fritz like, "Attaboy, Kerry. Kids, see how good your uncle is." So, ay. So Carrie then comes home one night, you know, froggy. It's like around the holidays. So he gives Fritz a gift because he's like, well, you know, I need a rest, you know. Not gonna be home for the holidays, be with Dottie in Mexico. So he gives Fritz a gift and turns out to be a pistol or a gun. And Fritz puts in the showroom of stuff, and then Carrie's like pissed that he won't use it. So they try to calm him down for a family meal, and then get a moment with Kevin and Carrie. After a bit, so Kevin's in bed with Pam, and then he gets a call from Carrie, who's apparently in a hotel room, and Carrie's like, I'm scared, man. I'm out of control. Feel like I got nobody. Feel like I want to be with the brothers. And he's like sounding suicidal, talking down on himself. I mean, this is just emotional scene. So Kevin's like, well, you know, tell me where you are, I'll come get you. Or maybe breakfast in front of, for the fam. Or come stay with us. And Carrie's like, I don't want your kids to see me like this. So it's, oh man. Finally with that pressure of looking, you know, super powerful. Going back to that motorcycle incident. So, yeah, so then Carrie hangs up, and then Kevin calls his dad, Fritz, and Fritz like, Mom's sleeping, saying that we need to look out for Carrie, this or that. Say he's worried about Carrie. And Fritz like, you guys need to work that out for yourselves. And then Kevin's like, just look out for him. I'll be there when I can. Then he drives to the family house. See car doors open. Looks there's no one there. Kevin goes into the house, which is open. Then all of a sudden you hear a gunshot, and then Kevin looks around and you're like, oh no. Oh no. So looks around a tree, and then he sees Carrie lying there, and then sees the gun he gave his dad. Or I can see why they didn't they left out part of it. So this is what really broke Kevin. I mean, then he sees, so Fritz runs in, and Kevin's like, I told you to look out for him. And then he literally almost chokes, kills his dad because it's like he feels like broken at this point. So he takes Carrie's body, puts on the dinner table, and then if there's a scene that's going to break you in this movie, it's going to be this one. Because it's like, so then they cut to Carrie, 2 feet, and they cut to him on the canoe on the family dock, and he's greeted by Mike and David in heaven, and then he sees Jack Jr. In the afterlife. I mean, that is just, man, that is so. And then they cut back to Kevin, who has his hand on Carrie, his life's body. I mean, so then after they cut to Pam, Kevin, and the sons, they're playing, and Pam and the kids are happy they're playing, or Pam, I think, gardening. Kevin, you can tell he's sad, he's broken, yeah. So then the kids are like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not a brother anymore. Sorry." So the kid's like, "We can be brothers." So they're playing catch, they're playing football. They showed a scene of Dottie painting while Fritz came back in the house. Yeah. After they show pics of the family, this, that, talking about the family getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That was a great moment for them. Showed pictures of the family, this stuff. I mean, just great. So, if you ask me if it was a very good film, yes, it was. Was it worth watching? Absolutely. Is it a tragic story? Yes, but it's also a story of love, family, and triumph, and intentional fortitude to stick through it and still raise a family. It's a great film. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, again, I encourage you, I recommend to watch this film for yourself. It was something. I know when it comes out on DVD, I know I'm going to order it, I'm going to purchase it so I can see it again. That was something. But yeah, that was... I probably didn't do the film much justice, but I tried my best to do it as best possible. It was a great film. I didn't cover everything, but great stuff, great film. Thank you guys again. Again, subscribe if you're new. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave that like button or click it. Leave a thumbs up. Thank you guys all. May Joe tune love. This was definitely different, but it was fun. So thank you guys all.